Hi friends and good evening. This is where the story really starts to get interesting. To the north of the United States, Saab has quietly stepped in with a major defense proposal to Canada, and it's not a small one. The offer includes 72 Saab Gripen fighter jets, along with 6 GlobalEye airborne early warning and control aircraft. This isn't just another procurement pitch. It's being positioned as a credible alternative to the F-35, at a moment when Canada is clearly reassessing its options. And when you see the Gripens and GlobalEye aircraft taxiing together on the runway, it feels less like a demo and more like a statement. The Gripen has a sharp, aggressive look, clean lines, compact, purpose-built. And under the fuselage, that pod, it looks very much like a Lightning targeting pod, signaling modern strike and surveillance capability. But the real tension isn't about how cool the jet looks. It's about politics and trust. We've talked about this before, and it keeps coming up again and again. Canada's relationship with the United States has been strained, and you can see it clearly even in public discussions. Some Canadians will say, "No, we're not mad at the US."
Others will say the exact opposite. "Yes, we're angry. We don't trust your government anymore. We don't feel like true allies." The reality is, the country itself seems divided on the issue. Now, to be clear, the F-35 deal has already been signed. Canada has made a formal commitment. But delays, cost concerns, and shifting political dynamics have pushed the program back. And this leads to a hard truth that comes up every time this topic is discussed. Canada is already about 20 years late, no matter what choice it makes. Whether Canada sticks with the F-35 or pivots toward Gripen and GlobalEye, the delay itself has already created capability gaps. So the real question isn't whether the F-35 deal exists. The real question is this: is it strategically smarter for Canada to stay the course with the F-35, despite political friction and rising costs, prioritizing stealth, interoperability, and long-term integration with US forces? Or does the Gripen plus GlobalEye package offer a more flexible, affordable, and sovereignty-friendly solution that better fits Canada's actual defense needs? Because this isn't just about choosing an aircraft. It's about alliances, independence, and how Canada wants to fight wars in the future. And that's where this decision becomes far bigger than it looks on the surface.
This is where the conversation gets uncomfortable, because the details people argue about online are usually the ones articles leave out. First, let's address the emotional side of this. Are Canadians actually angry at the United States? Honestly, that depends on who you ask. I've personally met plenty of Canadians, even ran into groups from Canada down in South Florida, riding dirt bikes, hanging out, perfectly friendly people. So I'm always cautious about what television and headlines try to sell us. Public opinion is rarely as clean or unified as it's presented. Now, when it comes to the aircraft themselves, if we're being brutally honest, the F-35 is the more advanced airplane. From a pure capability standpoint, stealth, sensors, data fusion, the F-35 is in a different league. But here's the problem. The real question isn't which jet is better. The real question is, when can Canada actually get it, and what support comes with it? Because buying a fighter jet isn't like buying a car. You're not just buying the airframe. You're buying training pipelines, maintenance infrastructure, software updates, long-term logistical support, political reliability. And that's where things start to matter.
This is why strategically it actually makes sense that Canada is entertaining other offers. The Gripen isn't some random aircraft. It's a NATO-compatible fighter, already operated by allied nations. Canada isn't shopping for Chinese or Russian jets. This is still very much inside the Western defense ecosystem. And frankly, they should be looking at alternatives. They owe that to the Canadian taxpayer. The harsh reality is this: Canada should have done this 20 years ago. They're in this position now because decisions kept getting delayed, again and again. That indecision is what created the current capability gap. Now here's where the Gripen becomes genuinely interesting. One of its biggest advantages is speed. In theory, Canada could receive Gripens much faster than F-35s. But even that raises questions. Gripens have been sold widely. Brazil is one of Saab's largest customers, along with several other countries. The production line is active, yes, But is it fast enough to suddenly supply Canada at scale? That timeline is still unclear. However, there's one detail that completely changes the equation. According to the proposal, Gripen production would generate around 12,000 jobs in Canada because a large portion of the aircraft would be built domestically. That's not just defense procurement, that's industrial policy, that's economic leverage, that's sovereignty. And suddenly, this decision isn't just about which jet is better in the air, it's about control, timing, jobs, and national strategy. And that's why this choice is far more complicated than it looks.
This is where Saab's offer becomes more than just aircraft on paper. Saab didn't just promise jets, they promised a factory in Canada. The proposal emphasized 100% guaranteed industrial offsets, meaning real production, real technology transfer, and long-term growth of Canadian aerospace capability. On paper, that's powerful. But there's an obvious question people gloss over. What's the timeline? Building a factory isn't instant. You have to secure land, build facilities, install tooling, certify production lines, and then hire and train an entire workforce. That takes time. However, once it's done, you're not just buying aircraft, you're buying decades of domestic sustainment, upgrades, and operational control. So yes, it's a trade-off. Short-term delay for long-term independence. But here's where my personal view comes in, and I've said this before. The real issue isn't just industrial benefits, it's geography. Canada doesn't just need a modern fighter. Canada needs a long-range, multi-engine interceptor, right now. And in my opinion, the aircraft that actually fits Canada's reality best is the F-15EX. 2 engines, huge fuel capacity, heavy on sensors, computing power, and future upgrade potential. And this isn't theory. I've got friends who are Canadian fighter pilots. They operate in some of the most unforgiving airspace on Earth. In vast Arctic regions, if you lose an engine in a single-engine fighter, you don't limp home. You eject, and that's it. There's no helicopter casually flying 500 miles into the Arctic to rescue you. By the time help arrives, exposure alone could be fatal. This is where redundancy matters. Single-engine fighters have advantages: cost, efficiency, simplicity, but in Canada's operating environment, 2 engines are survival. And Canada knows this. They've flown twin-engine Hornets for decades. That safety logic isn't theoretical, it's proven. Now, yes, the F-15EX is expensive, and I'm sure there are internal reasons it's not seriously on the list. Cost, doctrine, politics, maybe even frustration with the US. But from a purely operational standpoint, it makes sense. And even the Super Hornet would have been an excellent solution if Canada had committed to it 15 or 16 years ago as a stopgap. But that window closed. What we're seeing now isn't just a procurement debate. It's the cost of years of indecision colliding with real-world geography, safety, and strategic urgency.
This is exactly the lesson the US Navy already learned. They knew the F-35 was going to be late. Maybe not this late, so they didn't wait. They used the Super Hornet as a stopgap to keep capability alive while the F-35 matured. That's the decision Canada didn't make. The legacy Hornet, as solid as it is simply out of time. When you look at flight hours and structural fatigue, Canada is no longer near the twilight years. They're already past them. Yes, the jet is still capable. Yes, Canadian pilots and maintainers are excellent. But metal fatigue doesn't care about training. So it actually makes sense that Canada is now looking at other options. If Canada truly wanted to move away from the US, there are twin-engine alternatives, the Rafale or the Eurofighter. But Canada already studied those options back in 2005 and raised concerns about US interoperability and cold-weather engine reliability. That's why Canada became a Tier 3 partner in the F-35 program back in 2002. That's decades of investment. And that's the core issue. The Gripen is a great jet, but it doesn't fix Canada's short-term problem. Time is the enemy here, and Canada doesn't have much of it left.
Yeah, this is a hard problem to fix, because honestly, it should have been solved 20 years ago. Back in 2005, Canada was already looking to replace the Hornet. I flew with a Canadian exchange pilot around 2009-2012. He was actively evaluating the Super Hornet for Canada at the time. So this isn't new. Canada did look at options. They looked at the Super Hornet. They could have looked harder at the Rafale or the Eurofighter. NATO jets, twin engines, longer range.
true multi-role platforms. And they should have, because this isn't about politics. They owe it to the Canadian taxpayer. These aircraft aren't short-term purchases. Canada flies its fighters for decades. Just look at how long they've kept the legacy Hornet alive. Every single day this decision gets delayed, the problem gets worse. Maintenance hours go up, airframe life goes down, capability gaps widen. Speed now matters more than anything. And when you look at how long this has dragged on, 10 years, 15 years, even 20 plus years, you can't blame today's politics alone. That excuse doesn't hold up. What we're seeing now feels less like strategy and more like grasping for options at the last minute. And that's the sad part. The Canadian Air Force and the Canadian people deserve better leadership than what they've seen on this issue. Because this isn't just about jets, it's about decisions that should have been made long ago. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, Skyjet Wings, for more updates.